Hey, I'm Digit from Goblin-Inc, and today I'm going to show you my version of Ice Shards, Burning Frost. It's a build I've been trying to get right for the past few days, and I've tried a multitude of variations of the build to find out what works and what doesn't. This version of Ice Shards clears Nightmare 50 rather quickly and can push into Nightmare 60, although it does struggle a little with durability at this level. I've attempted to create a Paragon board around damage reduction to solve these problems. A lot of people also have mana issues while playing this build. I'll address that issue as well in this video. Ice Shards plays primarily around its own aspect, the aspect of piercing cold. This allows our core ability Ice Shards to pierce targets. When we use this with its passive destructive Ice Shards, which applies vulnerability when we hit a target 5 times, remember Ice Shards attacks 5 times already, we essentially apply vulnerability to everything we hit and everything behind the target. Enhanced Ice Shards also grants us the ability to ricochet off of frozen targets, creating what is essentially a disgusting combination that allows us to just devastate any group we teleport into and use Frost Nova. To enhance this combo further, we need the aspect of control. This aspect is used in almost all Sorcerer builds for a reason, and that's because it essentially multiplies with itself. What this means is, as long as you are applying multiple forms of CC listed in the aspect, you will multiply your damage for each applied CC. Let me show you how this works. If we use Raiments of the Infinite, to give our teleport a stun, then we use Ice Shards and then apply Wizard's Meteor for Immobilize, we get the bonus of all 3 CC, and although it's hard to see due to how the damage of Ice Shards is shown, we get our Ice Shards hitting as high as 300,000 damage. This is pretty conditional and takes a bit of practice, but this is how we are able to take down elites incredibly fast. We have to be careful though, as applying too many CCs in quick succession like this can make elites unstoppable, essentially destroying our ability to see it further for a certain period of time. This unstoppable is shown by an unstoppable symbol above their heads. Now for the rest of our skills. Our entire bar will be filled with defensives, as our class is incredibly squishy, especially as resistances currently do not work very well. Frost Nova, Teleport, Ice Armor and Flame Shield. All of these should be used if we want to survive. Frost Nova is basically our bread and butter. It's the main way of applying freeze and can be used after teleporting in to get off a quick combo. Ice Armor is used to block incoming damage and potentially after our stuns expire, as we know mobs will be retaliating. Remember, as well as initiating, Teleport can also be used to break CC as it makes us unstoppable. Finally, Flame Shield is usually used to negate anything that can potentially one-shot us, or for breaking out of CC that would end up killing us. Remember that Flame Shield doesn't make us unstoppable, it makes us immune. It is essentially a way for us to outplay certain mechanics. Lastly, we have a few choices for our last slot. Inferno is usually the go-to choice here. It groups consistently well, does incredible damage on its own, and is an ultimate. If we don't have the unique of the Infinite, we can use Inferno to group in place of Teleport. This makes clearing packs of mobs much easier. We have a few other alternatives as well. Deep Freeze can be used as an early defensive option, as it can be triggered while we're CC'd, giving us another immunity, or we can use Meteor. Meteor is a way for us to pull off a third type of CC for the combo I mentioned earlier. Now before I continue into gear and my current Paragon board, let's address mana. In order to solve our mana issues, we grab 2 aspects that can easily be obtained from dungeons. The first is Prodigy's aspect, which gives us mana when we use cooldowns, essentially making all of our defensives mana generators. The second aspect is Incendiary aspect. This one works in conjunction with our Firebolt enchantment, so that when we are applying burn with our skills, we have a % chance to passively restore mana. These tie in nicely with our Keystone Avalanche. This gives us a lucky hit chance that our next cast of Ice Shards will cost no mana. Alright, so here's my Paragon board. The primary focus of this Paragon board in particular is its damage reduction. I take a lot of these nodes. The reason I take these is because I want to push into Nightmare level 60 and plus. So this board's primarily focused on damage reduction. If you want a more damage focused board, you can check on my Twitch channel for the clip. So our first starting glyph is Territorial. Then we move into Burning Instinct, and we place here Destruction. Around Destruction, make sure to grab all the Dexterity, as that buffs the Destruction glyph. East will move into Icefall. Icefall, we place the Unleash glyph. This should boost the magic nodes for damage reduction. We take the damage reduction here from Chilled, and we also pick up the bonus to Chill application. North, we move into Frigid Faith. This is the vulnerable tree. We take up a lot of vulnerable here and some vulnerable DR, and we place the glyph Reinforced. North of the Burning Instinct tree, we move into Static Surge. We move into this tree, pick up the mana, pick up the health, and place in Exploit for more vulnerable damage. This gives us both damage and DR to help us in the later stages of the game. Alright, let's go over gear and gear modifiers. In our main hand, we'll want a wand. We can opt for a dagger here, but wand is the best, as it gives lucky hit chance. Vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, and intelligence are the best 3 main stats to have on our wand. The fourth can be anything from core skill damage to damage while stunned. Anything does well here, as long as it's damage, they're all additive, so it doesn't matter too much. In the offhand, we want cooldown reduction and chance to restore primary resource, as well as damage reduction from enemies that are burning. These 3 are the 3 core stats that we want for our offhand. Anything else is secondary, so barrier generation or resource generation would be secondary, as well as critical strike chance. In the rings, we want things that give vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, or lucky hit chance or critical strike chance, as well as maximum life. A perfect ring for us would be something like this that gives critical strike chance, critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, and maximum life. The reason we want maximum life in rings is because late game Nightmare Dungeons can be very punishing, so getting as much defensive options to deal with that as possible is a bonus. On the amulet slot, we want cooldown reduction. That is the main stat that we want. Then ranks 2 defensives is a good option, as well as ranks 2 devouring blaze. Some DR on here can help as well, damage reduction from close enemies, and I opt for movement speed here as I like to move fast. If you are not doing speed running through content, choosing a defensive option or ranks to all defensives is also better instead of movement speed. In our boots, we'll have Frost Nova and Teleport +4 ranks ideally, or +3. The reason for this is having ranks in this skill reduces the cooldowns of both of these skills. Movement speed is good in this slot as well as mana cost reduction. We could replace the mana cost reduction for some damage reduction, as well as damage reduction can roll on the boots. For legs, damage reduction just across the board is probably our best stat for legs. We can have some maximum life on here as well, but primarily you want damage reduction from enemies that are burning, damage reduction from close, and possibly even just flat damage reduction. For the frostburns or gloves, we want chance to restore primary resource and critical strike chance, as well as attack speed. Here I have frostburns. You can opt into frostburns if you want, or we can opt into something more like this. +4 ranks to ice shards is probably the best damage increase that we can obtain, so something along the lines of attack speed, +4 ranks to ice shards, and critical strike damage plus intelligence are the best gloves that we could possibly have in terms of damage, but ideally we want to replace one of these stats, most likely intelligence, or chance to restore primary resource. If we can get 2 equipment pieces that give chance to restore primary resource, we will have no mana issues. Moving on to our armor, we want something that again is very focused on defense. Flat damage reduction is good here, maximum life is also good here, barrier generation is good but probably not as good as maximum life, and then of course damage reduction from enemies that are burning, very good stat for us as we apply burning to everything. Moving on to the helmet, we want cooldown reduction and maximum life here. For sure we want these stats. Total armor is also a decent stat, as armor is a good stat all around to have, and then some intelligence just to round it out. An alternative for our chest piece, we can use the unique Raiment of the Infinite. This gives our teleport the ability to pull everything around us inward and stuns all of those targets for 2 to 3 seconds. The reason we want this is it just helps with speeds, it helps with pulling mobs, and it just generally helps with increased damage as it bounces off well with our aspect of control, which deals 34% more damage to enemies that are stunned, as well as frozen and immobilized. As I said earlier, these effects stack, so hitting people with all 3 types of CC is very good to have. That's all from me. If you enjoyed this guide and would like to see more, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And if you want, check us out on Twitch. Remember to do a rain dance for the Goblin of Good Luck, as he'll be sure to visit you and bless you with good luck. Thanks for watching, and gobble gobble.